For those of you who may not be aware of what is happening right now with Flint and the battle for clean water here, my name is Melissa Mays, and I'm going to catch you up really quickly. In April of 2014, the emergency manager and other members of City Council voted to switch from receiving treated water from Detroit over to treating our own water here from the Flint River. And if you are from around here, you know that the Flint River is notorious for the pollution and all the jokes and everything like that. The point was to try to save some money before the KWA, which we'll talk about later, comes in. However, immediately people were seeing differences with their water color, smell, taste, and how their skin felt after showers. People started complaining of rashes, losing their hair, coughs that wouldn't go away. The complaints were ranging from it smells like a pool to it smells like rotten eggs. My water is white and cloudy, or my water is brown and orange. In 2014, we were also issued 2 E. coli boil advisories in the summer, so we had to boil the water, not realizing what else was going on there. In January of 2015, most of us received EPA notices that Flint was in violation since May of 2014 for THMs. What those are, we'll also discuss later in this video. Thereafter several different protests, and we scheduled a march. We did everything we could to get our voices heard at city council meetings, expert meetings, writing letters, calling the governor, calling the state representatives, calling the EPA, the CDC, the president, everyone that we could possibly get a hold of. I was able to get in contact with Mr. Robert Bowcock, who is a 30-year expert in water treatment, and he works with Erin Brockovich, so they were made aware of our situation. And after sending him research, he was able to hop on a plane and come help us out. During Bob's visit to Flint, he was able to meet with city officials and speak with community leaders on how to help their constituents. He was also able to tour the water treatment facility, and on Saturday, he was a part of our March for Clean Water up and down the main street of Flint. This was in 10-degree weather, and he toughed it out. Then Bob went to the Saints of God Church, where he addressed the public with his findings and his recommendations, as well as answered questions concerning the health of the people here, risks, how to protect yourself, as well as water rate questions, because right now Flint is paying some of the highest water bills in the country. Many people average a $200 a month water bill and still are buying bottled water because they are afraid to use the water that is coming from their taps. So Bob took his time out to address the town in this meeting. So this video is his suggestions on how to fix Flint's water issues, as well as explaining the water treatment process, what THMs are, and giving advice to the citizens who live here, as well as other people that are having similar water problems across the country. And we really appreciate him coming out. So take some notes, and hopefully you'll learn something, and hopefully this helps you.
This is a treatment plant operator, February 2015 book. I threw it in my briefcase to read on the airplane ride out here. And what I found interesting on the title, when I actually got on the plane, I didn't bring it for this talk with you today, is it says, from the bottom up, residents helped design the water treatment system in Yorkton, Saskatchewan. Okay, it's in Canada, but the message is the residents participated in their water system discussions. So often what we find is that the community has the regulations and the treatment alternatives forced upon you. How many people in here wanted fluoride added to their water? You know, were you ever asked? No, you were told you're going to put it in, and you're going to pay for that cost. That's just a quick, easy example of how things are imposed on you. The Safe Drinking Water Act in North America is just 40 years old this year. Okay? And if we all understand how our federal government works, something that took 40 years to put in place, can you imagine how long it takes for those rules to actually get enforced on your drinking water system? And because of that, what happens is, like most people, if you've got a term paper due on a Monday morning, how many of you started at 10 o'clock on Sunday night? Okay, water system operations folks, a lot of them do the same thing. And then they find themselves under the regulatory microscope, and they're being told, you have to comply with this regulation by this date or you're subject to fines and penalties. And so oftentimes they're faced with two choices. Number one, in most cities that have operation of their municipal drinking water system, the enterprise funds, those funds that actually make money for a city, have a tendency to be abused. And that abuse comes in the form of, if you're paying for water utility service, you've got the biggest budget in town. And it starts out relatively innocent. There's not enough money to run the crossing guards. Put them under the water management department. There's not enough money for the animal control officer. Put them under the water department. Somebody needs to fix the potholes in the street. Well, there's pipes in the street. Make the water fund pay for it. And so what ends up happening is your water rates get driven by other municipal service needs, and it gets out of control. And then they become dependent on those enterprise funds. So then when you have a choice to be made, do we take the organics that are forming these trihalomethanes out of our water, or do we mask it with more chemicals? Because I can turn on the pump overnight, it's a cheap, quick, easy fix, and it gets you into regulatory compliance. Now, what does regulatory compliance mean? Or what is compliance with the all federal and state Safe Drinking Water Act requirements? That 40-year-old piece of legislation. What that means is there are chemicals that we test for, and you have to be under those maximum contaminant levels. Now, the federal government, under the Safe Drinking Water Act, only regulates chemicals that are common throughout the United States. So what needs to happen is they need to identify a chemical that occurs in enough states, and that takes anywhere between 7 and 15 years. So they find a chemical. I'll use the example of the Erin Brockovich chemical, hexavalpromium, chrome 6. Do you know Michigan, even after that movie's 15 years old, does not have a maximum contaminant level for chrome 6 in drinking water? Okay, California just adopted theirs January 1st, 2015. Okay, it takes that long. So what happens is the federal government goes out and they survey all the states. They say, what's chemical of the day? What's one that we're concerned with? They're chemical contaminant candidates. So they look at that. If it occurs in enough states, then they do testing to see, how many states and where, and then they send it off to a toxicology review. And they send it to all these doctors, and they say, well, we find this chemical in most of the states, so it's of federal interest, and we're going to regulate it federally. Does it occur in enough states, and does it have a toxicological effect? And so then they do all that research, another 7 to 15 years. So that's why when they come to you, and this is the frustration for those of you that have heard me speak before, that's causing me so much concern, is they say, the water's safe to drink. It's heavily regulated. It meets all the Federal Drinking Water Act requirements. That's not actually always a true statement. Just because something meets the federal requirements doesn't equate to safe. Okay? What we test for in water is we test for surrogate components. When they test water for bacteriological contamination, they test it for coliform. Coliform bacteria is on that paper. Everyone in this room has it on your hands. Coliform bacteria exists all throughout the environment. That's all they test for when they test for bacteriological contamination of drinking water. Why? Because if they find coliform, it indicates that the other bacteria that are bad for you might be in the water. When they test for it and find it, there's a follow-up test for fecal. And we know what that is, that's really bad. And then you get into the E. coli strain. They do not test for Legionella or the amoeba that are found in the state of Louisiana that will actually, if inhaled, kill you. These are things that have been occurring throughout the United States because of so many of the regulations that have affected disinfection. Disinfection is what is the biggest problem for the Flint drinking water system. And the reason disinfection is a problem is because they are not removing the organics from the water at the water treatment plant. When they were, when you were on the Detroit water, it is very low in organic material. It has low turbidity. So at the treatment plant in Detroit, they were able to remove the organics. So when the water was chlorinated, the chlorine could kill bacteria. In Flint, the water is working so hard to kill bacteria, but it's getting bound up with the organics and forming trihalomethanes. It can't do its job, which is to kill bacteria. You get a boil water notice. You get a boil water notice, what's the knee-jerk reaction? Turn up the chlorine, which makes more byproducts, which causes corrosion in your drinking water system, which causes the black and the red and the brown water that you're experiencing. Okay? One of the most interesting aspects of the treatment program here is less is more. Every time they've run into a problem with the treatment system here, they've adjusted chemical feeds. They've increased them. And it's just adding insult to injury, and it's compounding the problem. And it's compounding the problem at the treatment plant. The water at the treatment plant meets or exceeds all federal and state safe drinking water act requirements. But when they like I was saying with the coliform, where they only test for the economical test to perform, to test for bacteria, they test for coliform, they do the same thing with disinfection byproducts. Now, regulated disinfection byproducts are 9. There's 9 disinfection byproducts. And they perform those analysis in 2 different tests, haloacidic acids and total trihalomethanes. Okay? There are hundreds of disinfection byproducts that are just as bad for you as the ones that are regulated and that they test for. They just don't test for those others. So there is that concern. One of the biggest concerns I had when I heard that a consulting engineer was coming in to make recommendations was the fear that I had, because most of the time these consultants will come into town and they'll tell you, feed another chemical, feed more. And they like you to feed ammonia into your water, because what will happen is the chlorine will bind with the ammonia molecule and stop binding with the organics, and it will lower the trihalomethanes and haloacidic acids that are regulated. They don't talk about the fact that it makes another whole batch of disinfection byproducts associated with the ammonia that toxicologists will tell you are 10,000 times more toxic than those regulated by chlorine. So it's this vicious cycle. My initial recommendation for the Flint, Michigan water system is very, very simple. Start a program of reducing the chemical feeds, number 1. Stop the softening process. The softening process that is being used in Flint only works about half of the year, usually in the winter. And if you stop the softening process, the minerals in the water that cause the water to be hard will actually plate out inside the pipes and stop the metal corrosion that's causing the red, the black, and the brown water. Okay, so that's one of the things I'll recommend, right away is to do those 2 things. They're using an aluminum polymer in the lime softening system. I'm asking them to, when they turn the softening system off completely, they'll stop feeding lime, they'll stop feeding the other chemicals in the lime process. Take about half of the aluminum polymer they're using in the softener and use it with the ferric chloride. What ferric chloride is it's called iron salt. And so dirt comes in with the Flint River water. They hit it with iron salt. That magnetizes all the dirt particles into clumps, and those settle out in the sedimentation process. They fall out of the water. And the water becomes very clean and clear. Okay? The organics do not come out as much in that process. So the next thing I've recommended is turn off the chlorine in front of the filters. Remove the anthracite coal. What anthracite coal is it's a very dense charcoal material that it's merely a media for particles to settle on. That settlement is a filtration process. Replace those same grains of anthracite coal with activated carbon. And activated carbon, there are hundreds of different manufacturers of activated carbon. out there. They'll make one that's specifically designed for your water quality and for your infrastructure. And those particles, they adsorb. Much like a rag adsorbs water into it, those charcoal particles actually take the organics and lock them in to the particles on the charcoal. They magnetize the particles and they suck up. So there's no more organics in the water. So when it's chlorinated, the chlorine can do its job. It's not fighting all these organics. So you can take your chlorine from about 3 milligrams per liter down to about 1.5 because it's not going to be mixing with all these organics that are left in the water. It will take a while for the organics that exist that have been loaded in or dumped in your distribution pipes for years to flush out. But as that occurs, you'll be able to reduce the chlorine. Chlorine, when it mixes with water, makes hydrochloric acid, another acid, just like fluoride, that causes the corrosivity of your water. So turn all of that down, turn some of them off. Fluoride is both a cost and an acid. And frankly, a huge waste of money. I mean, scientists, I'm not going to get into any conspiracy theories here, but I will tell you that the US EPA union for all the scientists that represent 1,500 scientists in Washington, D.C., the employees had their hands tied by the government. They weren't allowed to talk about it. So their union came forward and said, turn it off, you're just wasting money. It doesn't do anything. That there alone is reason enough to just turn it off without getting into all the conspiracy theories. They just go away. So that sort of is how your water treatment plant works. There are seasonal fluctuations here in the river water. When the river is down, like it is in the winter, because everything's bound up in snow and there's not runoff, the groundwater underneath the ground starts seeping in. And that's where the hard water's coming from. So you actually experience hard water in winter. When the runoff starts coming from the snow melts and the river rises and flows as it's taking away all the snow melt water, there's no dissolve. Snow has no dissolved solids in it, no hardness. So the runoff water in the spring to the fall, the summer flows, aren't going to be hard anyway. So that process should not be continued either. So all those costs need to accomplish something. They need to be less than Detroit water. Because if they're not, turn on the Detroit water. It's a no-brainer. Yes, sir.
I'm glad you say that because the argument that the city makes, the DPW, is that the water going through the pipes, because the infrastructure is so old, the water sits in the pipes.
Right.
And so they have to build the chlorine level up to attack the water that is sitting there. Because as it sits there, it produces bacteria. Because it's just still water.
Right.
Now that I say that, I'm going to ask a question in conjunction to that. Is our infrastructure, is the quality of the water substandard because of the infrastructure?
Yes. Yes. But the way you're treating the water is making it worse. Everything goes together, which is why I'm kind of trying to get you to, I'm trying to give you Water Treatment 101 and make it specific to Flint so that when I move into the financial, and that's where I was going with my switch over to, as a professional, we must challenge ourselves every day to compete with technology and to compete with advances in cost-saving technologies. And what I mean by that is I would go to the water treatment plant, and you have very capable operators here in Flint. They're all I spoke with them, they're very, very capable. They need to be armed with the tools to get the job done right, and they need to be given the flexibility to do the job right. They get that, and you will get the Flint water situation fixed. That being said, what I would challenge them, just a second, and then I will challenge them to compete. I would be the manager, and I'd say, I got 5 water treatment operators over here. You've got the most over-designed water treatment plant I've ever seen, and I'll explain that in the budget of things, because you way overbuilt it about 12 years ago, which is why you have the debt you have on the water system. And I would say, you need to beat. Currently, I did a quick back-of-the-napkin calculation yesterday. Because you guys measure everything here by a box, Okay, in Flint, you use 100 cubic feet. A cubic foot, if I had a box, would hold 7.48 gallons in 1 cubic feet. They sell you 100 boxes at a time, and that's 100 cubic feet, which is, just move the decimal point, 748 gallons. Okay, because you do that in Flint, I'm not going to talk million gallons, because some people bill 1,000 gallons is their unit of water on their bill, and then they talk in million gallons of treatment. Since you guys are feet people here in Flint, I'll talk in feet. They buy water from Detroit by the 1,000 units, and it comes in at about $16 and some change per 1,000. Okay, an acre of boxes 1 foot deep is 43,560, so it's 43,500 units. So you take 16 times 43.5, you're basically buying water for $709 an acre foot from Detroit. Taking your $748 times the commodity charge here, the city's reselling you what they buy for $709 an acre foot for about $3,450 an acre foot. That's $2,800 difference. And I need to find out where that $2,800 is going. Okay? So that is the concern. Okay, that's where I get into the economics of the situation. So if you understand that math, I would go to the treatment plant operators who you as a community 12 years ago invested millions of dollars in. You borrowed it from the state revolving fund. Every year, the federal EPA gives the state of Michigan, based on its population served water, a certain amount of water, funds, in what they call the state revolving fund. It's federal fund money. They seed it, and then they're required to loan it to cities. You cannot not pay it back because it belongs to everybody in Michigan, and so you put it back in the fund so that the fund can survive, and then they can loan it to you again. You can use state revolving fund money to change valves, to replace pipelines, to do things like that, but you have to tell your elected officials, that's what we want to use the money for. We don't want to buy a softener that costs us millions of dollars in infrastructure and millions of dollars in electricity and millions of dollars in sludge disposal and millions of dollars in chemical, because soft water is actually hurting our pipes, because you're informed, so you can say, we don't want that. We'd rather have 10 miles of pipe replaced and wipe the little water spots off our brass fixtures. We'll wipe those off and give us $10 million worth of water pipe. But you've got to be informed and asked what you want. Okay? Back to what I was saying, the community has to participate in the design of these systems. So I'll get there in just a second, then I'm going to open it up for questions. I want you to get the whole picture. The way water rates are set is very, very simple. Okay? You've heard historically people use the phrase zero-based budgeting. That's kind of what you need to do here in Flint. You need to throw the baby out with the bathwater and start over. Okay? And what I mean by that is you need to take all of your fixed costs, your loan with the state revolving fund. Okay? You need to take your pension fund that's underfunded for the water department employees. I don't think you should be paying for the dog catcher on your water bill.
That's right.
Okay? So you need to take the water department fund employees. Those are fixed costs. You need to take all that, all those costs, and you need to say, we have 10,000 meters in the Flint system, and there's 12 months in a year. And you take those fixed costs, and they're going to come up with a number. You know, make them tell you what every number is that goes into those fixed costs. Whatever that number is, you divide it by 10,000, divide it by 12, and that's your monthly meter service charge. That's with no water. You guys are paying 50-something now? Okay? So that's how you get that's how you get to that number. Okay? It's really, really simple. And then on the commodity charge, what's coming through your meter should be your labor, your electricity, your chemicals, those variable costs that go into the commodity. And then you can say, okay, treatment plant operator, can you make me $600 an acre foot water? I got a bid over here from Detroit at $709. You're $710? You 5 guys go home. I'm going to buy water from Detroit. Okay? I mean, it's literally, we've got to, they're talking about, economic deprived communities, economic shifts, cost of service. You need to know what goes into that cost of service so you don't appreciate what you're buying. And so to get that understanding, you need to know these basics of how it's funded. So then you can make the decision, my water costs $3 a unit, not $7. And that's not mine at home, but $3 a unit, it's just a hypothetical. I can save 20 cents by not feeding fluoride that I don't want anyway. Community makes that choice. I want soft water. Community makes that choice. I don't want that much chlorine in my distribution system. Or I don't need that water storage tank that was built because I was on Detroit Water and now I'm not, so I don't need that. I can cut that out. Those are the decisions you can make once you're informed. I will talk about the health concerns of all of the chemicals I found in both the Detroit and Flint water, chemicals I've found that are coming out on the horizon associated with disinfection and disinfection byproducts. Chlorine is good. Chlorine is needed. Chlorine does not smell in water. What you smell are those byproducts. Okay, we've all been taught when you walk into a swimming pool at the city plunge and you go, woo, and then you go home and you drink the Flint tap water and you go, smells like the swimming pool. That's not chlorine. What you're smelling is the byproducts. You know what people do in swimming pools, right? Okay? That's why it smells. Okay? You sweat. That's ammonia. What little kids do in the pool. That's ammonia. Those are the byproducts. Okay? And so that's what you smell. Now, before I address your questions, because I want this out there as the basic thing of concern that I have with trihalomethane violations, is this. If you are at home and you're consuming the water and you see color, don't drink it. It's not safe. That is not a true statement. You cannot sit in an ivory tower in Lansing and say, the water is safe in Flint without testing it or coming out and looking at it. It's a very dangerous thing to say. And the reason I say it's a dangerous thing to say is that regulator sitting in his cubicle in Lansing doesn't know that there wasn't a backflow or cross-connection situation on your street. They don't know if there was a water line break on your street. They don't have a clue. They're generally saying, there's red water complaints coming out of Flint, screw them, tell everybody the water's safe to drink because it's okay at the treatment plant. They have no clue what it's like at your house.
Right.
And I defy you to find me one analysis of these jugs of red water, or these jugs of brown water, or these jugs of black water that they can say is safe. They can't, because they haven't run a single test on anyone.
Okay.
They just have not done it. Now, if you're at home and your water's clear, smells a little like chlorine, but you can see it, it doesn't taste bad, you're okay. The biggest danger with trihalomethane violations is hot showers and dishes. Okay? And the reason is because those byproducts are inhaled. Once they're inhaled, they go into our bloodstream. Once they go into our bloodstream, they circulate. Okay, I am not going to be as impacted. The men in this room aren't going to be as impacted. You might get bladder cancer in 70 years. Okay? If you are a pregnant woman in your 3rd trimester, the worst medical information studies out there is low birth weights associated with the inhalation of trihalomethanes in the 3rd trimester. Okay, and this is one of the things that Erin and I have been fighting for across the country. We've even actually given it a name, and we call it the September baby. And the reason it is because all the drinking water distribution systems across, pretty much the center of the country do what they call chlorine burns. They open up their valves in the summer, They increase the chlorine feed and they send it out, but at the same time, they're in total compliance with the Safe Drinking Water Act. Now you ask, how are we in compliance with the Safe Drinking Water Act with a trihalomethane violation? Well, the law says you take your sample on June 30th for trihalomethane.
Oh.
You're only supposed to quarterly sample for trihalomethane. You take it at all the points around the distribution system, and everything's, fine and dandy, because you know when the sample date is, you know how to tweak the treatment plant, you turn the chlorine back, everything's good. Then you turn the chlorine up on July 1st and you start doing your chlorine burnout. You're burning out all the biofilm from not taking the dirt out of the water. And you do it all the way up June, July, August. You go back, you sequester it, you take your quarterly sample in August. What happened for the 90 days between June and August? You were burning these people out. Now, is the water safe? No. It's no different than going 150 miles an hour down the freeway when you know the police aren't going to be there. It's the same thing. If you know that the police are going to be on the freeway, you ain't going to speed. You're going to slow down. You know the police aren't going to be there, you're going 150 miles an hour down the freeway. And that's what your water system does for 90 days between compliance testing.
Wow.
That doesn't mean it's safe because you're drinking water those 90 days or you're inhaling water those 90 days. So this misconception that the water is safe to drink is literally somebody in a cubicle that has no information to base that statement on. And what you need to do is be very, very vigilant. If you can see it, taste it, or smell it, don't drink it. That doesn't mean it's safe either, but those are obvious things. And working with the people here in Flint, I've seen the water jugs. I've seen what's coming out of the taps. And for them to say that it's safe is just not being honest.
Ludicrous.
With that, it's your meeting until Pastor kicks me out. And I'm gonna field questions and we'll go from there. Yes, ma'am.
She had hers up.
Oh, okay. I was gonna go like this, but go ahead, ma'am.
2 questions.
Sure.
I was listening to you talk about washing dishes.
Yes.
Is it safe to, or is it feasible to wash your dishes with the dishwasher?
It is, but
How to wipe your dishes down and take them out?
no, but you're not going to get anything from that because it'll evaporate and dry. It depends on where your vent is, okay? If you're going to wash your dishes in the dishwasher and you have one of those trap vents up on your sink that spits every now and then, that's just venting all that stuff into your house.
Oh.
Okay, so just stay away from that.
Mm-hmm.
I will tell you, this will amaze you. Erin and I do environmental cleanup stuff all over the country. And we're having a lot of cases where they're indoor air, volatile organic compounds, benzene, underground storage tanks are leaking, and the gases are coming up in people's homes. We're forcing them to do testing in the homes, and they're coming back and they're saying, we found high levels of chloroform in this house. But everybody knows that's coming from the drinking water supply. Shell oil companies putting that in reports today.
No.
So that's where it's coming from. It's coming from your dishwasher, your clothes washer if it's in the house, and a hot shower. If you have young children, please, warm baths, no hot showers. Until this trihalomethane thing gets
My
in.
other question is, for a immune-compromised person,
Yes.
I know I'm not drinking the water. My immune system is compromised. And I'm not drinking the water. I'm not cooking with the water. I tried to make ice cubes with the water, and my whole freezer smells awful. And I tried to wash my clothes with the water, and after I put them in the dryer, my clothes smell awful. So, I guess I've answered my own question. As long as my immune system is compromised, I should not be drinking that water or doing anything with that water. And when you spoke about the fact that taking showers with it and breathing it in, you said that's worse? That's
For trihalomethane.
right, for trihalomethane.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Any of the volatile chemicals in water, what volatile means is that it will vaporize, become vapor, or become airborne. It will separate from the water and become an airborne contaminant. That's a volatile. And that's what we talk about when we talk about those things. So now immune compromised. a community, and I'm not going to give this community clean bill health on the boil water notices yet, for the same reasons that I often have a beef with the way they do water quality sampling. I mean, when somebody goes out and they do a water quality sample, you know, at MLK at Broadway, they go out, they open the tap. Hopefully you guys are using sample taps and not people's house taps. Some cities are still trying that. You go out, you fill the sample bottle, and you let it go. And you get a positive for coliform issue. They require the boil water notice, and the bells and whistles go off and everything like that. All that tells me is that there was bacteria there on Tuesday. So, you know, what it means is that there's been some compromise in the distribution system that caused bacteria to be in the water supply at that location. Doesn't tell me anything about the system.
Okay.
Now, because this water system has so much biofilm in it, and so much rust, and so much corrosion, and all these different things that the water system's experiencing right now, there's bacteria all over the system. I don't know where to find it. They don't know where to find it. You can't give it a clean bill of health until it's cleared out. And so, immune compromised, I would be very careful.
Okay, so cancer patients can.
Right. I'd be very, very, very careful. Yes, ma'am.
15 years ago, I was involved in a lawsuit with the city of Flint for sewer backup. We begged at that time for them to fix the infrastructure. 15 years later, that infrastructure has not been fixed. I have a compromised immune system now because I breathed in the mold from the sewer backup. And now we're involved with this water thing. I don't know which way to go because I just was sick for 2 months with respiratory and I'm still not totally over it.
Right.
So I refuse to drink the water. I'm scared to death to bathe in it. Me too.
Warm baths. You have to. I'm just giving you the suggestion. Warm baths as opposed to hot showers.
Okay, I don't know where to go with the city of Flint because it's like talking to a brick wall to get them to do anything.
Right. You know, I'm mixed on that. Sometimes they give you the appearance that they want to do the right thing, but it's like they're making up for 30 years of not collecting the proper reserves to do capital improvements overnight.
That's right.
And that's not fair to you because what's happened is I understand you lost 10,000 people last year or something. What's the
1,000
a year? Okay. Those 1,000 people used the system for the last 30 years, and now they're gone, and they're asking you to make up the difference every time somebody makes out. So that's where it's like, I think there needs to be a compromise as to how those funds are collected. You know, I really, this whole emergency manager situation is interesting. But he cannot come in here and try to make everything right overnight. And because he's trying to do that financially, he's collecting a whole lot of money.
He's collecting a lot of money, he's selling off a lot of assets.
Yes,
He's not trying to make the money right. He's trying to sell off everything he can, but he's not listening by himself. I call him a gang. It's a gang of people.
That's right.
Uptown, downtown, really cheap.
Are you taking
It's all
questions?
those other people. It's all those other people. So it's not just he himself. It's the governor, uptown, downtown.
All the way down.
All the way.
Okay, I'm kind of going right. So whoever had their hand up first, you two right here. Okay, go ahead.
My thing is, all right, we know there's a lot of problems.
Yes.
All right. Now here's what I gotta ask you. Viola, which they called in as a consultant firm. You and I both know that this consultant firm has been put out of countries, states, and sued in San Francisco for dumping wastewater. Plant exploded in Indiana. They privatized the water system and cut the workforce by 86%. I asked for documentation of the report, which I also asked for a consumer confidence report, which they're supposed to give every year annually for July 1st. The contamination, monies, and everything else if they are serving the public. My question to you is TTHM consists of different chemicals. A lot of people are complaining about rashes, skin burning, and all that, which bromoform contribute a lot of that, you know, to that thing because it's a byproduct. How do we force them, not ask them? This is one of the solutions of what we need. Not asking because, just like you said, emergency manager is interested. It's dictator. It's a dictatorship. So we can't ask anymore because, in fact, it's where we have to force. Because you have a whole lot of power that be up at top that's working along with the emergency manager. And the people, what you said earlier, Detroit is offering 1,000 cubic feet, which is equivalent to 7,498 gallons, where Flint is charging by 100 cubic feet. And we get the water from Detroit, that's $8 per household, which we would have to pay, where Flint is charging $13 per household. How do we make them give us, where U of M just tested their water, and this is wintertime, and the TTHM is supposed to be real low right now, and they tested theirs, and it's 0.72, and that's real high for wintertime, so I know when springtime comes, it's going to be even higher. And it's a revolving door, and they just trying to hold us back until the KWA pipeline come in. They don't want us to switch back to Detroit water because the Flint residents going to say, since we go Detroit water, we don't want the KWA pipe. How can we force them right now to say, hey, we need Detroit water? Because that consulting firm that they have, you're not going to be here next Wednesday. They're going to come back next Wednesday and say, this is what we can do, which we know is a bald-faced lie.
Right.
So is there any information that you can give us right now and in writing? So when they do come down here, if they don't open it up to the public, you can give it to the city council so that they can pose questions to them to test them in that lie so that we can force them, Viola, to go and pack their bags and run away like they did in St. Louis, Baltimore, Argentina, Philippines, San Francisco, Indiana, Ohio, Connecticut, and all the rest of the places.
That's great.
Okay.
Yes.
For those of you that just heard that question, that's a compound question.
But we know you can handle it.
Okay. I'm gonna tell y'all in this room, because you cared enough to come out and actually start getting this ball rolling in the right direction. The way the system works is the Safe Drinking Water Act is controlled by the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency for the entire country, along with all the protections. They give primacy to all of the states. Primacy means the states are hereby deputized to handle the law. Okay, to every state except for North Dakota. North Dakota said, screw you guys, you come on and do your own program here, we don't want anything to do with it. But it's in 49 states. They have the responsibility to issue a permit to Flint and to keep all of the permit conditions and water quality analysis in their offices at the Capitol in Lansing. Boy of them. They're gonna hate me for saying that.
They are.
Boy of them. What you need to do is you need to say, until the city becomes, forthcoming with transparency and open information that satisfies you, you have every right as a citizen of the state of Michigan to say, you maintain the license for the Flint water system, show me your file because it's your responsibility. And if you can't, within the next 10 days, I may be calling the EPA up and saying, Michigan, you no longer have primacy.
Thank you.
Okay, and that's how you do it. And that's what we're trying to teach people to do, because these state regulators are not getting the job done. They're sitting in Lansing saying, oh, your water's safe. It meets or exceeds all federal and state safe drinking water act requirements. Go right ahead and consume it. They don't know.
So is it beneficial for us to go in mass numbers to Lansing and require, do you have the FOIA if it's a department, we should just be able to walk in and request the documents. That's what
Every
they do.
state has its own set of rules as to how that's done. I agree with you. You can actually, in a lot of states, if you show up and say, and they bring the file out on one of those little carts and they walk in a little glass room and they watch it. But a lot of states will let you do that. I cannot tell you that I got all 49 states' rules in my head right now.
I see you, Anna, but when you talked about that, if I may, when you got state representatives and state senators, just as you got council people on the local level, we don't have to force it, we can get it. So state reps and others should be able to get it. And when you were speaking about the elected officials at the beginning, the point that you made to the emergency manager, and that's why I wanted Pastor Harris to host this, because as a community and a group and with the pastors, when you share this expertise, and nobody even at this point can say they ain't learned enough. When you see Mr. Woodson leave and ask that compound question, we know, and now you to confirm them, because they bringing in people who talks on their side. So as this thing unfolds, believe me, politically, we'll do some stuff as long as we know the expert that's telling the truth is there with us and is accessible. That's why I wanted to open this up, because believe me, you can't keep this close. A handful of people can't meet you, and you don't know how smart this community has become. And not only do I, as a council, and others need to know, but state reps, the congressmen, while they giving away water, they need to be learning what buttons to push as elected leaders. So thank you, Quincy. I'm gonna be quiet.
Yeah, no.
Stay still on it.
Yeah, it's important for you to understand, and I would challenge you when you go home and do internet looks and things like that. Look at the California example, and not just because I'm from California, but it shows you one person can make a difference. And what happened in California was our primacy agency was the California Department of Public Health. And they have the drinking water program there until July 1st, 2014. For the last 7 months, they formed another department. And what happened was a legislator, your state elected rep, went with a couple citizens to the health department and said, what are you going to do for this community? And the head of the health department said, I'm in charge of the water companies, I'm in charge of the hospitals, I'm in charge of all the clinics. I'm too busy for that water. Everybody knows that the water guy's got it figured out. Just go figure it out. That legislature went back and he wrote a law saying, kill the Department of Health, take the drinking water program away from them. And he put that bill in. One man. Got a lot of attention. So much so that the governor said, I'm the administrator of all the departments, and that's how it is in Michigan. That's an administrative branch of government, so they all fall under the governor. I recognize I have a Department of Public Health problem. They're all fired.
Oh, this young man will do that.
One man did it in California, and they restarted. Now they have the Division of Drinking Water and the Department of Water Resources in California. That department, they're still trying to find out where the bathroom is, but they're brand new. And they literally, one man from Fresno did that in California. That's it. There you go.
Quincy, please.
Okay.
Quincy, go ahead.
How you doing? I'm Quincy Murphy, and what you just said kind of scared me a little bit. I'm like, I don't know if I ever want to even drink the water, and I don't care what y'all say. But what if, from what your expertise and what you just said, what if like us in this room stood with me in solidarity, and everybody stood up that was on board to put their water bill money in the escrow? I wonder how many people in this room would do that. If y'all would y'all please stand up? And let's see how many people. So what if all of us decided to go find 10 to 20 to 100 people that will be willing to stand with us to stop paying our water bills, because you're not listening to us when it comes down to us protesting, rallying, speaking out against this, showing you bad water, and based on what you just told us and what Councilman Eric Mays and Montez Davis been doing to try to advocate for us, it's only two of them, and they don't have the power up under the emergency manager, and the rest of their colleagues that's supporting our effort. What if all of us mobilize residents in the city of Flint, because I think that's kind of seemed like where some of us mindset is thinking. And we went to a judge and asked him to allow us to put our money into escrow to stop us from getting shut off, because I know some of us might be, some of them that didn't stand up probably thinking they don't want their water turned off. So we understand that. But what if the judge will honor us putting our money in escrow, because we have some questionable issues with this water situation, and we kept our money, instead of giving it to the city, to use our money for other things when y'all saying it's going, because we need infrastructure, and you just told us revolving loans from the state could pay for that, so we know that's not true. But what if all of us stood together and put our money into the escrow to stop paying our water bills downtown, and some of us got our water turned off where there's no assistance to help them because of the increase. So they done really put a lot of residents in harm's way by this increase, where a lot of residents around me, some of the water's just off. And there's no assistance. They lied to us the other day and did a political thing and told us they was going to be at a church helping people. And you had hundreds of people standing out there thinking they was going to get some help. And the only thing they did was at Home Depot, them talking about buying a water filter.
Right.
Yeah, it was a joke.
You're right.
Like, really?
That's
You
right.
know, I mean, they better be lucky we didn't turn that building up that day. But, so they gotta.
Do it.
Let me finish. They gotta. We could have rioted up in there and flipped the building. And I would have been one of the ones going to jail. Because to have all those people, elderly people standing outside talking about y'all gonna help people, they wasn't there to get no free bottles of water. Y'all want to give us some? Yeah, that's a bonus. But they wasn't there for that. They was there because y'all done jacked our water bills up, and people there with hundreds and thousands of dollars of water bill y'all put on the media. So it's like they're using the media to calm the storm when it's a fire out here dealing with this situation.
Come on.
So the only other thing that I think that we could do to push back at this point in time is stop paying our water bills and put it into an escrow and have a judge sign off telling the city that they cannot turn our water off. As long as you seeing that we're putting our money in the escrow, you can't touch us till we deal with this situation. Thank you.
Yes.
Taking over.
There's power in numbers. To do that, it's different in every jurisdiction, and I'm not sure what their response would be. I think it would take a court order to stop them from turning you off. And then the judge would, have to put an administrator in, which, I don't know enough about local politics. I understand the situation with this emergency manager coming down from Lansing and telling you guys what to do. And so a local judge could do that for you. That's local politics. I don't know enough about the local court system. That would take people smarter than me, but it could be done. I wouldn't want to give you advice that got your water turned off. I would tell you that they should stop with this turning off of water, because the rates they are collecting now, they're making more money than they should be.
Absorbing
It
it.
doesn't take me a long time to figure that out. They're putting a lot of money in the bank so that they can do things in the future, but they put it on your backs
On our
unfairly
backs.
very quickly.
That's right.
So who is next? I don't want to. Okay, go ahead.
Tony Palladino from Lisa. I've been to a lot of these meetings, and like Mr. Quincy said, I think it's more than a state. I think we need the federal government to come in, the Army Corps of Engineers to come in and clean all this out one push, because it's only a 30-mile city. I think they can come in. There's liners that can go through them pipes, they expand them, boom, we got all brand new pipes. As far as the valves and all that, they're valves. Now, I went to the same thing he did. I've been to the first meeting with Mr. Croft, who was handling the water. Please, I'm telling you guys, I'm about ready to snap up in here. Here's where I'm at. Mr. Croft stood there and said one thing, but on the same note, he's the only one who took a drink of that nasty water. Now, I went to the next meeting at the church.
That makes him smart?
No, what I'm saying is, smart enough to know, hey, I'm going to stand and act like I'm one of you, so I'm going to help you, but I've watched this guy in the last 4 months. I went to the U of M meeting. Now, this is no joke. This guy's talking it now. He's been lined up to say what he has to say. I'm an average citizen. I believe like the rest of us. I'm crying. My granddaughter's got to go home. I'm frustrated. I went to that Catholic thing. What a joke. It's like a bunch of cattle were walking through there, and I'm getting madder and madder and madder. Because these people sign this, here's this, you're going to get this. No, we're done with that. We need to step up, jump on that bus, and get down there. We need the federal government in here, folks.
Yes.
We need the Army Corps of Engineers to do this system now. And here's the thing, as far as the mules, my mother-in-law has it, my granddaughter and I have it. So what do we do? What are we going to set out in Grand Lake or something? Where are we going to go? We're in the city of Flint. We're suffering.
That's right.
Why are we going to have, what, we got to leave? What, we got the plague or something? You understand? It doesn't make sense. You're old, you got kids. Get out of our city. We can't give you the water. Now I'm healthy.
Come on.
Now I'm healthy. And I got to take this stuff. And look what it's doing to me. And look at the hair, man. Just from the 24th now, I got a can this big from hair that I lost. Understand what I'm saying? My wife. My grandbaby, she made this little sign right here. She's got to go home to Davidson. I love Flint water. You know what I'm saying? I want water. I want my grandma. Where do we go, man? Where do we go? What do we do? What do we do? I got a grandbaby. I got an immune system. What? What? I can't drink the water? What am I? What I got to do? Got to go home? You know what I'm saying? This is my home.
That's right.
I'm sorry, guys. I've been to all these meetings. This stuff's got to stop.
Right.
We got to get the federal government in here.
Yes.
An interesting thing that I've discovered, and I haven't done I'm just speaking from the heart, not from any qualified perspective on pricing and things like that. Knowing home values, knowing rents, knowing taxation, knowing those things in this area, and it's different around the country, you all know that. And then looking at water bills, some of you are paying more for water and sewer than you are for your mortgage.
Yep, we are.
I mean, statistically, there's something fundamentally wrong.
That's right.
When cost of living things like that are associated with that, and that might require, federal government intervention. One of the things that we found very interesting when we looked at the case as it was unfolding in Flint was the international attention that the water shutoffs in Detroit were receiving.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And then as I got into it and I started looking at it, and I understood that they basically were wholesaling you water. They were making money off of you, but a fair markup. In that, I heard that there were concerns about the fact that they charged by distance and elevation away from the city. Well, distance and elevation to me equates to electricity. So there should be a premium on water by the time it gets here. But they're still charging you
An arm and a leg.
well, no, Detroit, less than what they're actually earning on it. So in fact, the way it works is the bigger the system, the lower the costs. Okay? So when Flint shut off Detroit, in theory you were supposed to be getting less expensive water in Flint.
Right.
People in Flint got hurt. We know that.
Right.
You hurt Detroit too. Because now they got to spread that cost. So it's like that action was like, two wrongs don't make it right.
I'll get you back.
And so,
Yeah.
yes.
I just want to pose this question to you real quick. I understand exactly what you're saying. You and I talk. He's absolutely correct that we do need a federal court intervention, federal government intervention. But I say federal court. You being an expert, I'm good at filing motions to the federal court, which I will file a 42 U.S.C. 1983 complaint form. I can survive the hurdle in this report, in this motion, and it can get passed in the Eastern District. But I need an expert. And if you can write me a report telling the effects of the TTHM that they're not disclosing to us, I would do the motion to the federal court because I've done it before. I filed a motion to the federal court and I survived the hardest hurdle. And a law professor told me I didn't have a case. So I fought against 2 attorney generals who've been to law school. I've never been to law school and I'm kicking their butt.
Come on.
So I would do this. And then he didn't take the case until they offered me $10,000. Then he realized I had a case. But I had already survived the hurdle that he didn't think he could survive. So back to my statement on my question, because it's not about testimony. Could you give me a report about the TTHMs on an expert level that I can attach to my 42 U.S.C. 1983 complaint form? Because I have to have that in order. Because if I don't have that, they would dismiss it for lack of merits.
Right. Court, federal court, state court, you're looking at years.
No. What I would do, I would
okay.
ask for an injunctive relief. The injunctive relief would ask to shut off using the Flint River water. And I will use your expert testimony connected, and I will ask for an expedient ruling. Because there's a lot of lawyers that won't file these suits.
Right.
But there may be some that will. But I want to do it because I can spend all the time in the law library at the circuit court and get to work. So if you will give me an expert testimony from your standpoint that I can connect to that motion, I will file that motion to the federal court in the Eastern District.
I would like to commit to this community that we start 5 different fronts all at the same time.
Can that be one?
And that can be one.
Okay.
Alright.
Okay. Long as that can
And
be
your
one.
escrow can be another one.
Okay.
But
And
what I
escrow
want
can
to
be
what I
one.
want to talk about, and I'm probably going to get jumped pretty hard for this, because I don't know local politics. I have been a guest in this community for about 48 hours, and I will tell you, I met with the mayor for coffee. I have met with Mr. Croft. I think the treatment plant operator's top notch. I think Mike's a smart man. Everybody here seems great. I don't think, I got the magic, bean in my pocket, and I don't think I'm going to get, but I haven't been kicked in the teeth yet.
Good.
Okay?
We have.
You have.
We have.
I'm respectful of that.
And Bob.
So what I'm saying, where I'm going with this, is I got 2 of you here, okay, and I got a
You
mayor.
got 3 councils.
3, okay.
And you got some that couldn't be here, but we know who they are. But
And
got 3.
and you are all with your own agendas.
That's right.
But this one has been pretty darn common.
It's common. It's unison.
And we've got a report coming out from Veolia on Wednesday. They're all concerned because of the work you've done, not because of the work I've done. I'm giving you a few tools. I want to take them on face to face until they kick me in the teeth.
Okay.
Say that again.
You're
I want to take them on
stand with
face to
us.
face until they kick me in the teeth. And what I mean by that is, nobody's lied to me yet, that I know. Meaning the mayor made some commitments yesterday. Croft made some commitments yesterday.
Croft.
Mike made some commitments yesterday. Until they don't do them and I have to embarrass them on a national level, I'm not going to. They haven't kicked me in the teeth yet. What I mean by that is let's look into the escrow thing. Let's look into the federal court case. Let's look into a local jurisdiction case.
Right.
Let's call your representatives in Lansing. Let's FOIA those guys. Let's do all those things at the same time and hope one of us wins. And you want the one to win to be the one that can get the most early resolution.
Okay.
The commitments they've made to me should fix this by spring.
Spring.
I hold out hope.
Flint River can't wait till
I am an
spring.
optimist until I get kicked in the teeth, and they haven't kicked me in the teeth yet.
And Bob.
Yes, sir.
That can be.
That was
what Quincy said-
2012, 2013.
What Quincy says is very good. That can be in the 42 USC too, because you can articulate many remedies that you want inside of that motion. And then I must end this. It has to go at a federal level. Because
Now go quick, shut me up, because at 4:30 is Valentine's Day, and we out here.
Yes, sir.
I guess my question would be with the KWA coming in, will we be going through this again? I don't see too much is gonna happen until that's me, until the KWA allegedly come in. Will we have this tainted water when the KWA come in, or will it be just clean and perfect and life back, or should we expect something?
I don't know enough about the water quality in Lake Huron. I will tell you it's of a better water quality than Lake Michigan, and it's certainly a better water quality than the Flint River. But I'm going to throw a concept at you that you might go, Bob's crazy. Water can be too clean. Okay? And so we could find ourselves, I would hope that they've gone up there and run tests on this water and tested it in this treatment plant. Okay? And then tested it in relationship to, you can do corrosion tests. So they need to bring 55-gallon drum of that stuff down here. They need to treat it with these treatment technologies. And then they need to put little tabs of cast iron and steel in it and see how corrosive it is. Could be worse at the end of all this. I would hope that it's better. Okay? Now, to give you some peace of mind, if the recommendations I've made are implemented, some of them could begin Monday. Turn the fluoride off. Or if you don't want to do that, because Mike's afraid of it, it's bad stuff. He didn't even want his employees going in the room because it's a bad acid and it will hurt you. Okay? Let it all feed out so you don't have any in inventory. Or if you're afraid the state's going to come and make you turn it back on, just turn the pump off. And then when they come in and give you a court order to turn it back on, then you got it. But just go up and go, here how hard it's going to be. Off.
Push a button.
Off. It's gone. Okay? Go to the softeners. Lime. Off. The aluminum, polyaluminum chloride that they're using, try it with some of the ferric. So you can take your ferric, they're feeding your ferric at 18 milligrams per liter. Drop that down to about 9. Cut it in half. And then take 3 or 4 parts of the polyaluminum chloride that you already have there. Stop feeding it in the softener and feed it over there as a what they call filter aid. Then take that clean water and run it through that softener room that we went through. Just don't put any garbage in it. It blew my mind. I told the councilman yesterday. They make the water really, really clean, and then they take it over into the softening room and they dirty it back up. It just drove me crazy. Okay? And then when you do all that, because you have the ozone that you have, the investment was made there 12 years ago. That's the bond you're paying off. Okay? Go ahead and turn the chlorine off in front of the filters. Change the filters out to granular activated carbon. And then after the filters, turn the chlorine down because it's not going to be fighting with all the dirt you just took out of the water. Do that, and then if the system doesn't start cleaning up in about 6 weeks, then they can add what they call polyphosphate, which will, instead of the white calcium carbonate coating that you're going to see on the pipes, the polyphosphate will add a shiny glass coating on the inside of the pipe. But the corrosion will stop.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Am I saying Erin Brockovich, is that her name?
Yes.
Okay, I have great respect for her because I remember watching her news and know about her. I really thank you for being here because I see that it's making a big difference, that it had to do with the people in Flint coming together and not compromising and standing for what they believe. Because a lot of the people, when I remember, a lot of people were drinking the water and everything was fine. There was no corrosion until they changed to the Flint water.
Right.
And that's when they noticed the smell and the taste.
Right.
I mean, right away. And then that's when you started seeing them emptying out the hydrants. I mean, on every corner, you could see them emptying out through the hydrants. So I'm just saying that it was noticed right away when they changed to Flint water.
Sure.
The taste and the smell. So when you're saying that the corrosion, it began right away.
There are 25,000 plus drinking water systems, in the United States of this size.
But I thank you for being
Oh, thank you. And there are no 2 water qualities that are the same. No 2. They're all different. There are certain specific categories that you can treat them in, but you have to show respect for that water quality. You can treat anything, okay? But when you make a switch like that, you do not make political decisions in haste like that. Because it really did some serious damage. And it's going to take a while to uncover from that.
Just real quick, Bob.
Gentleman in the hat. Okay, go ahead. He's had his hand up. Go ahead, sir. Yep.
Oh, thank you. Number one, I appreciate your financial analysis early on in the presentation. I thought it was excellent. I know you've only been here a short period of time. Would you agree or disagree with a figure of $12 million being bandied about to rehook with Detroit Water?
I've heard that's not true. I've heard that there is no reconnection fee at all.
Right. There's not.
And you need to get an honest answer to that question. I would tell you, I think Detroit would probably turn you back on. There's no reconnection fee. Open a valve.
They already said that it comes.
Yeah, Stu McCormick.
We got all the prices. We still hooked to Detroit. He's exactly right. All we have to do is open the valve. All those myths are gone. Pay the money, open the valve.
Just real quick, Bobby.
Yes.
I'm paying $156 a month water, I am willing to take half of that and pay it towards you to come in and work with our water department.
Yes.
I'd rather have your expertise in it, because apparently, it sounds to me like you've seen how they're working on the inside. Yes, there's a few guys in there that know what's going on, and on the other half, just like I told Crop at the meeting, I worked with the Journal for all the years. The young guys couldn't run in presses like the old guys could.
Right.
So they bring them in and let them work on that, understand, knowing the knowledge of that.
Right.
And I asked Croft that. He said, well, the guys are qualified. I said, well, that's fine, but what about the ones that really know the system?
Right. Right. No, I understand. Yes, sir.
I'm looking for clarity on a couple of brief things you said.
Okay.
The California plan that the one man initiated, he went to his congressman, right, his senator?
No, it was a what we call assemblyman, which is in our houses we have two houses in California. We have a Senate and an Assembly, which is Congress and a Senate. And there's 80 assemblymen and 40 senators, and then the governor. And what happened was some community members got together and said, "Hey, we have a nitrate issue in our community." They went with their assemblymen and said, "Let's go talk to the Office of Drinking Water over at the Department of Health." They rejected them. And they said, "Oh, really?" And one guy gutted the whole department. One guy. So I was using examples as it can be done.
Okay, so then in other words, we have a House of Reps. So we've got
Right.
Jim Annan, Sheldon Neely. We should approach them first as one of the 6 fronts. And have them go to the water department in the state.
You guys call it
for the records.
MDEQ, right? MDEQ is your water guys, yeah.
Okay, so they're supposed to go there, ask for those documents, and if they are not presented or they can't give us to us, then we have to FOIA those documents, right?
Right.
And the goal is to use those documents in the lawsuits to
No.
prove that they don't have it, or to...
Yeah.
I'm looking for clarity. The
Yeah.
other thing is, you mentioned that they promised you change by spring. Are there any printed benchmarks that they're going to have to stick by so that we don't wait till spring? And spring can be 3-month period. What part of spring are they talking about?
Right.
Early spring, mid-spring, and is there anything we can look at? Like you said, if they don't turn off the fluoride by February 27th, it ain't going to happen in spring. If they don't turn off the iron by March 7th, it ain't going to happen by spring. Is there any stair steps that we can be watching to make sure that when spring comes, they don't say, "Give us another 3 months.
No.
Give us another 3 months," and then they're gone.
Right. If the pastor will forgive.
The last thing I
okay.
wanted to mention is that the city of Flint put out a request for a quality control engineer at the water department. Have you applied for that job?
No. Okay. You guys are compound question askers here. Okay, to kind of get it all encapsulated into an answer for you is, my point is one person in this room can make a difference and you can get political action to take place. That's number one. Number two, the benchmarks, what are they going to have to do? How do we keep them on schedule? A number of people have asked, how I will do that. And where I was saying is if the pastor will grant me, I'm going to work on a Sunday. I'm going to get on the plane tomorrow and I will type them up. They're not going to be fancy. They're going to be, these are the things I observed. These are the things you need to do. You can do them now, or you can choose to ignore me. That'll be the kick in the teeth if they don't. If they do those things, if they do those things. And what's going to happen is it's going to be a really, really strange event, because I'm of the opinion that they're going to say, and this is what you were talking about yesterday, they're going to say, "Oh, we can't turn the fluoride off because it's mandated." Ask yourselves this question, since you're a fighting crowd. Did you get a citation for the boil water notice?
No, I didn't.
No. You did. The city got when you get a boil water notice, that's an MCL violation. You get a citation. So the city of Flint Water Department got a citation. Everybody saw the citation for the December failure at THMs, right?
Yeah. Nope.
Where's the bleeding body? They got a citation. Oh, so what? Turn off the fluoride? Oh, so what? Flint said, "We're turn it off, give us a citation." So what? Fluoride's off. Right? So they've proven citations don't mean a damn thing anyway.
We're already accusing them of not watching, right?
So just turn it off. Okay? I trust Mike. If Mike wants to do some things with the water quality, with the aluminum, you know, no two water qualities are the same, which is why there's 500 different water polymers out there. Most people use a metallic salt. Have you ever heard of alum? It's an aluminum salt. Ferric chloride, it's an iron salt. And they use different salts to coagulate water based on the water chemistry. So that's your basic coagulant. And then they use additional coagulants to help that process. You get a bunch of excited electrons in the water clumping together the dirt particles that like ferric, and the water's turbid, you use more ferric and the stuff settles out. He could make the decision not to settle out so much there and feed a filter 8 over in that lime softening room. Basically turn off all that stuff to dirty the water up and just add a little bit of the aluminum over there. He could add it over in the flash mixers. Give Mike the ability to play with the water and get it tuned like a fine-tuned engine. Give Mike that authority to do that. And then change those filters out to where you absorb all the carbon.
What date does that have to happen by?
Those are going to take a while to get because you got to get on the phone and you got to get in line with everybody else that's getting it.
But it has to be done by when does that have to be done by?
Oh, I'll give you a schedule with everything. As I was sharing with her yesterday, I already called a couple of the factories and said, get ready. So, I mean, we'll let you cut the line. I'll put some pressure on a factory that wants to get it done, get it here. It's made in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. It's not that
I don't
far.
think the factory is the problem. I think the government is the problem.
Right, but I'm going to give them that. I'm going to give them that time frame, and then they're going to commit to you as a community, not Bob, that they're going to do these things. If they don't do them, hold their feet to the fire. Keep pushing on those other 5 fronts. But what you asked of me was, when am I going to do this? I'm going to do it tomorrow morning on the plane ride home. Okay, and I'm going to type it up. It ain't going to be fancy. It's going to be about as quick and clean and dirty as I just approached you with it.
When you type it up, who will it go to?
I'm going to send it as protocol directs to the mayor and copy to the entire city council. And Mr. Croft and the emergency manager. And then what I would encourage you all to do is MDEQ and the state representative. What I did, Erin and I have been talking. She's still in Australia until the 18th. I think Thursday she comes home. Is that the 18th? She comes home Thursday. I can't keep track because it's a day thing. You get home before you leave. Anyway, so when she gets back, we go to Washington, D.C. a lot. I will be sitting down in your congressman's office, and he will see Erin. And so that's going to take place. So, I mean, a lot of things are going to happen. You started it. You're going to have to finish it. I'll just be here to help. Yes, ma'am.
I just wanted to say that I am on the Flint River kayaking over on Stanley and Genesee Road, and I've been there for 8 years, 10 years, and this is what the Flint River looked like 2012, 2013, long before the water ever hits the water treatment plant. Last year, I went to the director. I said, the Flint River's sick in the spring. She said, no, the Flint River's not sick. I'm telling you, the Flint River got so sick that all the water lilies turned to mush. Turned to mush. Never one got a lily flower on. Not one lily survived. And so they're treating the water, and the only ones that can do that and have that power to do that is Lansing. Nobody in Genesee County can do that. And I'm telling you, the water is sick long before it hits the water treatment plant. Please, please, please hear me. And not only that, but I talked to the chief ranger over on Stanley Road, and you know what he told me? I was on the water December 27th kayaking, and he told me that the Holloway Reservoir is so low that they're finding cars that have been in the Holloway for 20 years. We can't open the fire hydrants no more. Please, please pay attention. They're getting ready to drain Holloway right out of water, right out the fire hydrants. They don't care. Please hear me.
We hear you.
I just want to say something.
Yes, ma'am.
The fluoride, I believe, was voted in to the water 10 years ago.
It was voted in?
Voted in.
Yes.
Through the citizens 10 years ago. About 10 years ago, it was voted in.
Well, that was to add
Now, the only way we can get it out is to have
Extra.
to be voted out, correct?
Yes.
That's all I want to say.
They can't vote emergency, anything to stop it.
City Council could do it tomorrow.
I am fair.
Councilman Van Buren.
Told you.
Yes,
I
ma'am.
want to ask a question that may not be as obvious. The obvious is the ones that the water smells, you know, it doesn't taste right, it's affecting the skin. But what about to residents? I've heard from, they say their water's fine, they drink with it, shower with it. Are they being fooled into thinking that their water is good and really they could be suffering side effects also?
Yes. Okay. If it's clean, if they live in like the way the water system works is the water leaves the water treatment plant. There's two big pumps, and they go out and they hit that big high elevated tank, and then they go a little further out, and then there's two 20 million gallon tanks on each side of the system, 18 and 20 or whatever. Okay. And then the whole system operates on a float. Okay. If you're on the pipe where it's first coming out, you're probably going to get the best water quality. Okay, what they found, what Mr. Croft told me, is they got, you know, a 24-inch valve over here was broken closed, there was a valve over here broken closed. So the water is trying to operate in a system that was designed a certain way, and it's just not, because somebody's gone and closed valves, somebody's moved things. What will happen is believe it or not, like if there's a big, if the water's coming out here and there's a big factory over here, what happens is if that factory's taking, like the Coca-Cola plant, let's just use this example, they're taking a ton of water, okay? And you live near there, and all the water is fresh and it's running over here to the Coca-Cola plant, and you're off that pipe. You get the best water. Coca-Cola shuts down because it's the weekend. Nobody's taking water down that line. On Monday morning, you get really bad water.
Wow.
So it changes every day. And that's why I asked Mr. Croft for the hydraulic flow model, because I can put that on my computer and I can tell you what's happening right now. It's not fancy.
And did he give it to you?
You just started making one. Okay?
But we're supposed to have that.
You're supposed to have that. And that's why I said you got to hold the regulator in Lansing accountable. And so the software for that is called H2O.net. You can download it at home. It's available from the US EPA out of the Cincinnati. Cincinnati's where all the research and the free stuff comes from EPA. Go online, type in H2O.net, hydraulic flow model. It's a big file. It might crash your computer, but you can use it. It's free. So city water departments should have been doing that a long time ago, because it would have told them. And how, okay, once you put all the pipes into this model, how you calibrate it is you go take tests around town. And so if you go over here and the chlorine is 2.6, you put that in the model. And then you go over here and the chlorine's 1.4, you put that in the model. And then you go over here and it's 0.6. What happened? And that'll start telling you where the valves are closed or broken, or you're going to get stagnant water, or you're going to get the real clear water, you know, and all those types of things. Now, the reason that the real clear water causes me concern is because even if it's clear, it can still have chemicals of concern in it. We just don't know. But for them to say that, you know, the smell, the color, and the odor, or the sight are okay is just completely bogus. So it's one of those types of situations. I don't want to give you an opinion because it's not fair. The best answer is I really don't know, but I'd be concerned.
The Home Depot, they tried to give away water filters. Is that a solution?
No.
Thank you.
Let me tell you about water filters. Only because you asked, and I'll try to be quick. Please do not fall prey to people selling water filters. And the reason for that...
That's right.
The reason for that is the water treatment, the home water treatment guys are dangerous. Okay, I mean they're like bad stuff you buy on the streets. I mean they are not good. And the reason that they scare me, they scare me is they sell you a home water filter. You don't know how to use it, and because you don't know how to use it, that water quality coming in from the city can cause those filters to actually become bioreactors, and you can end up poisoning yourself with them. So, and then the people that use the resins, those resins are sometimes misapplied for the application. Filters work. Filters work. The Brita filter, all that is the granular activated carbon I was telling you about. Those, they're not going to make the water safe, but they're going to take out the smell. They're going to take out the color.
Paul.
They're going to polish it, but they're not going to be the answer.
Paul,
Yes, sir.
we could have shut it down in the rig.
Okay,
I just
and then
wanted
you.
to go back to the side effects that we're talking about.
Yes.
Because we haven't really talked about, like, people in my household have had persistent coughs for months, hair loss, like, to the scalp, like skin showing, and the only thing the doctors can say is stress. For a 3-year-old, like, he's stressed out at preschool, I guess, and supposedly it has nothing to do with the water, he's healthy, fine enough. Right.
No, the chlorine levels that are in this water and the associated byproducts, there is a diagnosable disease called swimmer's asthma and swimmer's rash. The levels and the organics in your water right now can be equally as attributed to that. Have you ever, those of you that have ever looked at a chlorine test kit for a swimming pool, it ends at 3.0. Okay? It starts at 0.3 and then goes to 0.5, 0.8, 1.0, 2.0, 3. They're feeding more than 3 in the water. It's higher than the chlorinator even the chlorine test kit even goes.
It's not even a joke.
So because of that, you know, these types of ailments associated with swimmers are what can be experienced when they over-chlorinate drinking water. Yes, sir.
I think we're in a public health emergency. I think we need transparency. I think everybody in this room is doing a great job. I think we're going to begin to rely on Flint City Council to give us that transparency. Who hasn't been contacted that can cause a comprehensive review of the water for every pathogen, every element that you indicated they're not? Who can I call Monday?
Lansing is who it's supposed to be. And I got to give them the benefit of the doubt until they kick you in the teeth. But that's who's supposed to do it. They have a primary. And they need to
They could pay for a comprehensive study.
Absolutely. And they should. And they should. I don't know who your health department inspector is. Does anybody here? What happens is there's a department head, and then there's probably division heads. Because the Department of Environmental Quality, they handle groundwater pollution, they handle bad dumps, they handle all these things. And there's somebody in charge of the drinking water program that's going to be a subhead. And then under him, there's going to be district engineers. And Flint has an assigned district engineer. I don't know who that is. That Flint assigned district engineer should have, he should be able to go, here's my Flint file, here's their permit. I've discovered things that they haven't done in Flint. When they changed water quality, it triggered an immediate redoing of the lead and copper rule. Because they did the lead and copper testing and the lead and copper rule on the old water quality, on non-corrosive water. When they switched, when they went, City Council, we're going to switch from Detroit water to Flint River water, that immediately triggered a redo of the lead and copper rule. Because that's, right now you're experiencing iron and manganese from cast iron. Lead and copper is in your pipes in your house.
Right.
Okay? That triggered that immediately. They didn't do that. That's not been done. It hasn't been shown to me if they did do it. So these are the kinds of things that you need to hold that sanitary engineer sitting in Lansing responsible for, because that's his job. And if he's not doing his job, his boss isn't doing his job, and EPA can take primacy away from it.
Y'all thought that I talked wrong. Hey, look, Barbara, what was it? You had something?
It's okay, I'm gonna speak to him after.
Okay, you had something. Quick and
You
quick.
were talking about groundwater contamination.
Yes.
In the early 2000s, there was an institute here called General Motors Institute. It's
Okay.
now called Kettering University.
Okay.
Those students did a groundwater testing along the banks of the Flint River that was next to James P. Cole Boulevard from Hamilton Street through downtown and ended at the old Chevrolet plant that's no longer there where Kettering University now stands. They found over 100 different chemicals that had leaked into the Flint River from the industrial sites that no longer stand there. They also estimated that the continuance of the groundwater contamination will last over 100 years. Removal of all complex grounds down 4 feet deep were dug up and put back with uncontaminated soil. The Buick powerhouse.
We got it. It's a
Management.
lot of industrial, hold
The
on,
viewing-
this is Pastor Harris,
I understand, ma'am,
732. Listen to me, we set this up. You making a point about the industrial land.
It's
Anything
also
else?
affecting the groundwater in the
Right.
Flint River that we are asked to drink.
Right, and we understand.
So what all I'm
Is it a statement or question?
I'm giving a background.
But we all the time,
Oh,
go ahead,
well,
go ahead.
I'll try.
Trust me, I
Okay.
know what I'm doing.
Okay.
We want to keep
What I
good
want
with
to
the house
find
bill.
out, what I want to find out is, because of this known contaminants in the groundwater, because the water plant had been closed over a generation, now reopened, the filter system that's in there, are those filter systems capable of handling the over 100 different contaminant chemicals that's coming through the Flint River? And if not, the filters that you're talking about, will they handle those?
Victoria McKenzie, right?
Yes, sir.
I know the community. Go ahead.
The answer is I need to see what the 100 are.
Okay.
I will tell you that any of the organic contaminants, the VOCs, the TCE, PCE, those types of things, they will absorb to the carbon. Right now they're not. Okay? And where you should be concerned, and back to this gentleman's question here, the comprehensive analysis of the water, it's called the Source Water Protection Program. And they need to do it for the Flint River. And they said they've done it, and I haven't had it produced yet, but I'm going to hold their feet to the fire to get it. Source Water Protection Program. Now, what that will show you, and the reason that I have concerns about this, and so you guys are smart when you ask your questions on Tuesday, because Monday's a holiday, is this. Remember what I told you. In the winter, groundwater increases in the Flint River. In the summer, it's diluted by all the snowmelt runoff. If I were running the Flint treatment plant and I wanted to cheat on the tests, when am I going to take them? What's that mean you're drinking in the winter? You need to be calling Lansing and you need to say, I want to see your source water protection plan, and I want to see those 100 chemicals and constituents all tested for, and it's just further to that issue that I'm talking about. Granular activated carbon will remove most of those, but not all. I need to see if they will not take up the heavy metals. Some of that's being done by the ferric, so I just need to see the list, and I'll be able to take that list and say, this will take care of that, this will take care of that, this will take care of that. But the ones that are most common in those types of spill sites are run right through that plant.
Let me say this. Do we want to thank him for being here? Did we learn something? Is he associated with Erin Brockovich?
Yes.
Do you understand?
Don't hold that against me.
Hey. Do you understand the Facebook page, the power of social media?
Yes.
Melissa, stand up. That's Melissa, that's who hosted it. Let me say this. I met her through Clarissa, stand up. Let me say this. The person who can give you more time with him this evening is Melissa. Melissa hosted it. So if you really want to talk to him as we leave out, guess what? We ain't trying to be funny, but guess what? Pastor Harris is the man who I came to and everybody agreed to do something for the community. I'm a believer in God. I'm a believer in prayer. Can I ask Pastor Harris to pray for us and pray for this water situation? I pray on my knees. So I want to pull Pastor Harris up, because when it comes to what he's got to do on his schedule, which he said we're 7 minutes over, Pastor Harris, will you pray for us?
Yes.
What's that?
Everybody, I'm going to post the videos from the entire meeting. If there's other questions you have, please email them to me. I want to compile them, and I will send them to Bob as I get them. So make sure you look for the videos. I'm going to post them. Review them. Think anything that pops into your head as we go. Please email me. I'll make sure that it's available to everybody, and then I will get it to Bob and give it more hummus. I'll give you my card, and I'll post it on everything, too.
One last thing before Pastor Harris pray, I'm sticking around. I'm praying on my knees. Claire, stand up.
Hi.
Monday at Antioch
at
9:30 in the morning is one session. She'll give you a flyer. 5:30 in the afternoon, get the flyer.